Welcome, Seeker.
Beneath the golden sands of Egypt, carved into temple walls and etched into amulets worn by pharaohs, a single eye gazes out at us from across the ages. The Eye of Horus. For thousands of years, this symbol has fascinated scholars, mystics, and seekers alike. Some call it a talisman of protection. Others believe it hides the very key to enlightenment. But what if the true meaning of this ancient eye is far more profound than we've been led to believe? The Eye of Horus is not just a relic of myth. It is a code, a map of consciousness that the ancient Egyptians embedded within their sacred art and ritual. A symbol that unites heaven and earth, spirit and matter, mortality and eternity. To see it is to glimpse how the ancients understood the structure of the soul itself. Think of it, a single image so powerful that it was painted onto sarcophagi to guide the dead through the afterlife, inscribed into ritual objects to invoke divine sight, and carried as a charm to protect the living from harm. But here's the hidden truth. The Eye of Horus was never just about physical protection. It was a mirror, showing us the true nature of perception, the hidden potential of the human mind, and the mystery of awakening our inner vision. In this journey, we will peel back the layers of history and myth. We will explore why the Egyptians revered this eye, how it connects to their most sacred cosmology, and what deeper truths it reveals about consciousness itself. We will uncover how this single symbol bridges mythology, geometry, and even neuroscience, and why its power has not diminished even after thousands of years. So ask yourself, what does it mean to truly see? Is sight only what the eyes reveal, or is there another kind of vision, one that awakens when the soul looks inward? By the end of this exploration, you may never look at the Eye of Horus the same way again. And if you wish to keep walking deeper into these mysteries, subscribe to Labyrinth of the Veiled, where the forgotten is remembered, one secret at a time. Share your thoughts in the comments and keep the conversation alive. The Eye of Horus begins, as so many Egyptian mysteries do, with myth. In the story of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, his brother Set murders him and scatters his body across the land. Horus, the falcon-headed son of Osiris and Isis, wages war to avenge his father and reclaim the throne. But in the cosmic struggle, Horus loses his left eye. This is not simply the tale of divine family conflict. It is the language of symbols. The Egyptians believed that myths encoded truths about the soul, the cosmos, and the eternal dance between chaos and order. Horus's eye, torn away and later restored by Thoth, the god of wisdom, became a living symbol of healing, sacrifice, and divine restoration. It was not merely an injury. It was a cosmic event, an allegory of what it means to lose wholeness and find it again. The restored eye, known as the Widget, meaning the whole one, came to embody protection, health, and the reestablishment of harmony. The Egyptians saw it as a complete vision, not only of the world outside, but of the inner world of spirit. Every part of the Eye of Horus held meaning. Its lines corresponded to fractions used in their sacred mathematics. Its form mapped onto the senses, and its wholeness symbolized the integration of body and soul. But this symbol also had a place in their cosmology. The right eye of Horus was associated with the sun, representing rational sight, clarity, and outward perception. The left eye was linked with the moon, intuition, dreams, and the mysteries of the unseen. Together, they formed a balance. Day and night, logic and intuition, the material and the spiritual. In other words, the Eye of Horus was never about one eye alone. It was about the union of opposites, the restoration of equilibrium. Philosophically, this union was at the heart of Egyptian thought. Life was not seen as a battle to dominate nature, but as a balancing act. Mat, the principle of truth, harmony, and order. To live in Mat was to align oneself with the cosmic order. The Eye of Horus, always watching, reminded the people that nothing escaped divine perception, and that justice and balance were eternal. What is remarkable is how this symbol endured beyond Egypt. In later Greek writings, it merged with ideas of the third eye and the all-seeing gaze of the divine. In Hermetic philosophy, it became a key to inner awakening, the vision that perceives hidden truths beyond the veil of illusion. Even in modern times, echoes of the Eye of Horus appear in art, architecture, and esoteric traditions, though often stripped of their original depth. So why has this knowledge faded? Part of the reason is that much of Egyptian symbolism was deliberately multi-layered. Priests and initiates preserved its true meaning, while the common people saw only its surface, a protective charm, a magical ward against evil. Over centuries, as Egypt fell to foreign empires and its mysteries were either suppressed or reinterpreted, the deeper significance of the eye was obscured. What was once a sacred key to consciousness became, in the eyes of many, a superstition or decorative emblem. Yet, hidden in its curves and geometry, the Eye of Horus still speaks. It whispers of a forgotten vision, a way of seeing that binds the rational and the intuitive, the physical and the spiritual, the mortal and the eternal. To truly understand the Eye of Horus, we must look beyond the myth and into its design. For every curve and line is intentional, a code waiting to be deciphered. The Egyptians did not create art merely for beauty. Their hieroglyphs and sacred symbols were crafted as bridges between the human and the divine. The Eye of Horus is no exception. Its sweeping eyebrow, the teardrop spiral, and the precise angles of its form correspond not only to the human eye, but to something far deeper, a universal pattern of perception and wholeness. One of the most astonishing revelations lies in its mathematical structure. Ancient scribes used the Eye of Horus to represent fractions in their system of measurement. Each part of the eye, the eyebrow, the pupil, the spiral, the curved tail, was associated with a specific fraction, together totaling almost, but not quite, one whole. To the Egyptians, this was not a mistake. It reflected a profound truth. In the material world, perfection is never fully attained. Wholeness exists only when the divine, represented by Thoth, completes what is broken. In this sense, the Eye of Horus was both a mathematical tool and a spiritual reminder that human knowledge always falls just short, and divine wisdom is what restores balance. But the mystery deepens further. Each fraction also corresponded to one of the senses. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and thought were mapped onto the different components of the eye. Here, the Egyptians encoded a philosophy of perception, that the senses are fragments of a greater whole, and only when united do they form true vision. The eye then becomes more than a symbol of protection. It becomes the key to integration, to seeing reality not in pieces, but in its entirety. Now consider this. Modern neuroscience has shown that the shape of the Eye of Horus bears a striking resemblance to the cross-section of the human brain, particularly the pineal gland, thalamus, and corpus callosum. Was this coincidence? Or did the Egyptians, through ritual and inner exploration, intuit a hidden map of consciousness itself? The pineal gland, often called the seat of the soul, or the third eye, is central to many mystical traditions. Its alignment with the Eye of Horus suggests that the symbol may represent not just physical sight, but the opening of inner vision, the ability to perceive beyond the limits of ordinary senses. This interpretation transforms the myth of Horus's lost and restored eye. On one level, it is about vengeance and divine justice. On another, it is about the human journey of losing inner sight through ignorance, materialism, or spiritual blindness, and the sacred act of regaining it. Thoth's role in restoring the eye becomes a metaphor for wisdom, meditation, and higher knowledge repairing our fragmented vision of reality. Imagine then what it means to see with the Eye of Horus. It is to see holistically, where every sense, Every fragment of perception merges into a single field of awareness. It is to experience both the outer world and the inner truth simultaneously. It is to live not half-seeing, but fully awake. And this, perhaps, is the hidden invitation of the symbol. It is not a relic of the past, but a living practice. A reminder that awakening is not about adding something new, but about restoring what has always been within us. If you're finding this exploration illuminating so far, consider subscribing and joining the community here. In the comments, share your thoughts. Do you believe the Egyptians truly understood the inner workings of consciousness? Or are we rediscovering truths they left encoded for us to uncover today? The Eye of Horus is often shown as a talisman of protection, carved into amulets and painted on the walls of tombs to shield the dead in their journey to the afterlife. But this protective eye is only the surface of a far greater mystery. Protection, in the Egyptian worldview, was never about warding off mere physical harm. It was about safeguarding the integrity of the soul itself. To see the Eye of Horus simply as a lucky charm is to miss its essence. It is not merely a shield. It is a mirror. It reflects back to us the condition of our inner vision. In ancient funerary texts, the restoration of Horus's eye was equated with the restoration of Mat, cosmic order, and balance. This means that the eye was more than a symbol of personal safety. It was a reminder that the soul's vision must be whole to navigate the mysteries of life, death, and rebirth. Now let us examine an intriguing paradox. Horus loses his eye in a violent struggle against Set, the embodiment of chaos. Yet this loss is not the end, but the very condition that allows for restoration and transformation. Without destruction, there can be no healing. Without blindness, there can be no awakening. The Egyptians encoded here a timeless spiritual truth, that our trials, our wounds, even our losses, may be the very doorways through which higher vision is born. Some esoteric traditions suggest that the Eye of Horus conceals within it the blueprint of initiation. To awaken the inner eye, one must descend into darkness, confront chaos, and emerge with renewed clarity. The myth itself becomes a ritual, a map of the seeker's journey. In this sense, the eye is not just about divine perception, but about the courage to face what blinds us: fear, desire, ignorance, or attachment. Other interpretations, however, push the symbol even further. In Hermetic and later alchemical thought, the Eye of Horus has been linked to the union of opposites, the left eye representing lunar, intuitive, feminine energy, and the right eye representing solar, rational, masculine force. When one eye is lost and restored, the message becomes clear. True vision requires balance. To rely only on reason is blindness. To rely only on intuition is imbalance. Wholeness emerges when both ways of knowing are reconciled. There is also a cosmic dimension here. The ancient Egyptians often connected the eye to celestial cycles, the waxing and waning of the moon, the daily rising of the sun. Some scholars argue that the Eye of Horus encodes the lunar cycle itself, with its waxing phases representing the eye's wounding and its fullness symbolizing restoration. In this way, the eye mirrors the rhythms of the heavens, reminding us that loss and renewal are not aberrations, but the eternal heartbeat of the cosmos. And what of the misconceptions? In modern times, the Eye of Horus is often conflated with the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye in the American dollar bill, or confused with the Eye of Ra. While related, these are not identical. The Eye of Aya often carries the aspect of fiery vengeance and destructive power, whereas the Eye of Horus carries healing, restoration, and inner vision. One burns away, the other rebuilds. To confuse them is to blur two very different currents of Egyptian thought. So, when you next see the Eye of Horus carved into stone or worn as a pendant, remember, it is not only a ward against darkness, but an invitation to confront the darkness within. It is the emblem of a deeper truth, that we must lose sight before we can truly see. And that restoration of vision is the essence of spiritual awakening. If this part of the journey resonates with you, subscribe and join our circle of seekers. Share your reflections in the comments. What do you think? Was the Eye of Horus meant as a protective charm, a cosmic map, or a secret guide to inner awakening? Symbols, no matter how powerful, mean little unless they can be lived. The ancient Egyptians never saw the Eye of Horus as a mere decoration. It was a living force, a key to awakening higher perception. So how do we, thousands of years later, begin to activate this vision within our own lives? The first step is awareness. The Eye of Horus represents not just the act of seeing, but how we see. Do we perceive the world through the fractured lens of fear, bias, or ego? Or can we train ourselves to see with clarity, balance, and wholeness? A simple practice is to pause throughout the day and ask, am I seeing clearly, or am I reacting blindly? This single question is the beginning of restoring your own inner eye. Second, there is a powerful meditative exercise inspired by the eye itself. Visualize the symbol in your mind's eye, the sweeping line, the spiral, the teardrop mark beneath. Imagine it glowing between your eyebrows, not as an external talisman, but as an inner flame of awareness. As you breathe, let this light expand, dissolving confusion, sharpening intuition, and restoring calm. Ancient initiates believed that to meditate upon the eye was to align oneself with the cosmic order of Mat, harmonizing thought and spirit. Another application lies in the realm of healing. The Eye of Horus was used as a measure of wholeness, even in mathematics, where its fractions represented parts of a complete unit. Each piece of the eye symbolized a sense: sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch, and thought. To work with the eye, then, is to consciously refine these senses. Try this. Dedicate a day to heightened awareness of one sense at a time. Notice colors with greater detail. Listen more attentively to sound. Savor food slowly. In doing so, you are restoring the pieces of your own perception, just as Thoth restored the shattered Eye of Horus. But there is a deeper layer still. The myth teaches us that vision is gained not by avoiding darkness, but by confronting it. In practice, this means facing your wounds, your inner set, the chaos within. Journaling, shadow work, or mindful self-reflection become ways of restoring the eye. What we deny blinds us. What we face restores our vision. When the eye is whole, intuition sharpens, fear loosens its grip, and the world reveals hidden patterns once veiled from ordinary sight. The Eye of Horus also reminds us to balance the two modes of knowing, rational and intuitive. A practical method is to approach decisions with both. Write down the logical reasons for a choice, then meditate quietly and ask your intuition for guidance. When both align, you know the eye is restored. When they clash, it may signal that further inner work is needed. Ultimately, to live with the Eye of Horus awakened is to live as a conscious seer. It is to recognize the dance of order and chaos, to embrace loss as a prelude to renewal, and to view reality not as fragmented, but as whole. In this sense, every challenge becomes an initiation, every wound a doorway, every restoration a glimpse of eternity. If you feel called to explore this path further, take a moment to subscribe and share your reflections below. How do you imagine applying the wisdom of the Eye of Horus in your own journey? Through meditation, healing, or facing inner shadows? Your insight may awaken another seeker. The Eye of Horus is not simply an artifact etched on temple walls or worn as an amulet for protection. It is a living symbol, a mirror reflecting the journey of the soul itself. It speaks of loss and restoration, of chaos confronted and wisdom gained, of vision shattered and then made whole again. Across centuries, it has whispered the same truth. True sight does not come from the eyes alone, but from the union of mind, spirit, and heart. To awaken the Eye of Horus is to pierce the veil of illusion, to see not just the surface of things, but the deeper harmony hidden beneath. Think of what this means in your own life. Every challenge you endure, every shadow you face, every piece of yourself you gather after being broken, these are all fragments of the eye, slowly being restored. And when the eye is whole again, clarity returns, intuition sharpens. The world becomes luminous with hidden meaning. Perhaps this is why the Egyptians revered the eye as both weapon and guide. A weapon against ignorance, a guide toward higher consciousness. To walk with its vision is to live not blindly, but awake, to see patterns in chaos, unity in division, and eternity in every fleeting moment. The question then is simple yet profound. Are you ready to restore your own Eye of Horus? If this journey has resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe and share your thoughts below. How do you interpret the eye's true meaning? And how might its wisdom guide your own path of transformation? The mystery endures, waiting not in distant temples, but within the vision you carry inside.